Hey there, YouTube. Welcome to Big Mike Beard Wisdom. So, we're back at the presentation trash can to show you this. This is Miracle Grow Performance Organics, and I picked this up for the strawberries. So, when we planted the strawberries over there in the raised bed, we kind of were rushing it. It was kind of the end of the day, you know, already getting dark out and stuff like that. And then we didn't actually mix anything into like the raised garden bed soil and stuff like that as far as the fertilizer went. And of course, like the next few days, we had some really cold weather and some snow. So it was kind of one of those things where it was a big rush to just kind of get them in, kind of get them set and stuff like that. But we never actually went around to actually putting in fertilizer. And then with the cold weather, I more or less like snipped off or broke off all like the little flowers it already had. So you can kind of see they look a little bit different as far as how each one looks in size and, you know, healthiness. So, but we've got 3 different varieties in here. The Eversweet ones, I believe, are like these 8. The Albion ones, I think, are these 4. And then these 3 here are the Quinault ones. So they kind of survived a little bit differently through like the winter snap and stuff like that that we had. So these Eversweet ones kind of got hit kind of hard, but you can see that Eversweet ones rebounded really well. So everything's doing pretty decent, but it's one of those things where I just want to get a little bit of fertilizer down to kind of help them out. So my plan today is just to take some of this and more or less top dress just a touch. So you can kind of see right here for the in containers, it says for established plants, shake evenly onto soil and lightly work in. And then they've got different pot sizes. And you can kind of see you don't use a whole lot. So for me, what I'm going to do is essentially just kind of pull back some of the straw mulch and stuff like that. Put this down and then go ahead and water it a little bit. So it'll be a little bit interesting because I'll be able to see, you know, if there's any additional weeds. So some of the stuff, like this one over here, is kind of from the straw that's appearing. And I've been picking a lot of this out. So when we put the straw down, there was a bunch of those that kind of popped up. This little guy over here, probably a straight up weed of some type. Well, I didn't get him roots and all, so probably be visiting that guy again later to yank him out. And then you've got the little runners that the strawberries are dropping. So my goal is to cut these runners off to try and help build up the strength of the main plants, because up here in Minnesota, it's going to get really cold come wintertime. And I really want to be able to get these guys built up enough. That way we don't have to do anything weird like transplant them or something like that, or dig them up in like the wintertime or like the fall and then move them and stuff to like the basement. That way they can overwinter and not freeze to death, because it's going to get down to, you know, -20 at some point in time. And I don't know whether or not the strawberries will be able to survive that if they're not strong enough. So as far as the runners, I'm going to keep them short. That way a lot of energy goes into the main plant and hopefully build something strong that'll come up next spring when everything's all set and ready to go. So you can see I kind of pulled the straw back a little bit around each of them. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of this stuff around each one. So real quick, we'll just see how fast this comes out. So I'm not thinking like a big saturation of it. I'm just thinking light dusting, kind of like a, you know, a Big Mac sesame seed bun kind of thing. So just enough it's getting kind of spread out, but it's not solid with it. And then we'll pull the straw back in and then water it down and in. So it's really pretty interesting, the difference in like the soil temperature. Like you kind of feel around, the soil feels pretty warm. Today's a pretty hot day and stuff like that. It should be close to 90 today. So straw pretty warm, soil underneath not that warm. So definitely kind of one of those things where, you know, that straw really makes a big difference. And then with the runners, you could technically plant these on top of soil and, you know, propagate yourself some new strawberry plants. Just, you know, then you got to try and figure out where you're going to put more strawberry plants. And then I got that lightly watered in, so we should be hopefully all good to go. To at least getting like the fertilizer somewhat started being broken down. So essentially putting it up just up top and stuff like that, it's not going to break it down super fast. It's going to be a little bit slower. Really, you want to get it mixed into the soil. That way the soil's like biome and everything inside the soil helps to break it down and get it more easily passable to the plants and stuff. So with this way, I mean, at least it'll be a nice, steady, slow feed throughout the year. And that's the big thing with a lot of plants, is that essentially you may be looking for an initial harvest. So like with the potatoes, it's all about this year. It's all about what we can output right now. With the strawberries, it's kind of about building up for the next 2 years. So this year, yeah, some strawberries would be nice, but really next year's the year to be looking for the bigger berries and stuff like that, and more berries. Whereas this year, it's just kind of take it easy, get the plants established, you know, maybe get some berries that way you're like, hey, Eversweets taste like this, Albions taste like this, the Quinault ones are fun to try and say. But, you know, that way these become more established and it'll be a better year next year. So trying to get a whole bunch out of the strawberries this year is not what I'm looking for. It's just trying to set them up for next year. Potatoes, though, you got 1 year. Well, I mean, like probably like 40 more days on these guys. And when I picked this up from Lowe's, there was a ton of different options for the Miracle-Gro Performance Organics, especially for the edible ones too. So besides this one, which is a 7, 6, and a 9, so 7 for nitrogen, and then 6 for whatever the middle number is, and 9 for what the last one is. So 7 for nitrogen, 6 for phosphate, and 9 for potash. So it's kind of one of those things where they had a bunch of different options in a bunch of different specs for these. So if you wanted one that was heavier in nitrogen, you could definitely do that. You wanted one that was heavier in whatever the middle number is. I already forgot. There were ones there as well. So it was just kind of one of those things where I went there and I think I kind of wanted one that had a higher last number, but you know, otherwise the 6 and 7 are pretty much even. It's just a little bit higher, that one. So this is kind of what I was looking for. Otherwise, I probably would have been happy with like a 7, 7, 7, 5, 5, 5, 10, 10, 10 kind of situation. So, but it'll definitely be interesting to see how this winds up going. And if these all of a sudden take off, or if it's a nice, steady, slow build. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll check you next time. And these are also on sale, so I might have bought 2.